but the dad it was so sweet. He said, I saw the dean of the college take my son and start walking ahead of me with his arm around him like a father, and I knew he was going to be okay.
Okay, so sorry, a little bit of a drinking from a fire hose experience there, but I would love to answer your questions. Oh, I was going to share real quickly a couple of things on the CLT website. If I can get there. For CLT, if you want to find out more about CLT 10 and that free test, remember tomorrow is the registration deadline. On our CLT 10 page, cltexam.com, and then I went to tests and CLT 10. You can come down here and you see this one for September 27th and 28th. If you click on this logo for Covenant College, it will take you to a little interest form. You just submit a little bit of information to Covenant about your student, and then they will send you a code to take the test for free. If you don't want to share information, use that HLA 2022 code and you can get 25% off. The cost of this exam is $44, and so makes it $33 with 25% off. And then I wanted to show you real quickly, once you create an account on CLT, this is the student dashboard, really easy to register for a test here. And you can edit your registration, change things up. We're very flexible. And like I mentioned, unlimited and free score shares on anything that you test. This is where after you take the test, you will find analytics. And I will not go into this much because I know we've been over an hour already. But I just wanted you to see there's tons of information here on how your student performed. And each one of these opens up more information about these subdomains. It really is useful as a parent. I used this information to understand where my students were excelling and where they needed a little more review or a little more concentration. And that was very, very helpful, not just for test scores, but because they were academically better off, because we spent the time focusing on these skills that I had some concrete evidence that they were not as strong in as maybe I perceived them to be. So make sure that you use these analytics, and they are available on all of our tests. They're included on all of our exams. Okay. So I will stop talking now, Lonnie, and you guys can ask questions.
Okay, thank you, Kimberly. That was a lot of information, but that was wonderful. It was great. I think you covered about everything, right? Except for just the HLA specific things and questions. But we do have 3 questions here. Is it okay to make online colleges? Does it work? Is it okay to make online? I think, Carmita, you're asking, is it okay to take online college courses, whether it's DE or in regular college? And it's fine. A lot of students are able to really expand their college choices. For example, just say, a Christian college that you might want to go to, but it's not in your area, but, they offer online programs. And usually you cannot take every single class online once you start getting into your major, but it's certainly a way to get dual enrollment, and a lot of the general education courses, taken is through the online. So that's certainly available, and that's through the colleges. Every college is different. So everything, that you are going to be doing with colleges, whether it's dual enrollment or the applications, are really going to be done with the college. You can apply to multiple colleges with the common application and some of these, and then we are your guidance counselor, and you can get on our Home Life Academy page, and it's going to have Rebecca's name. I've been training Rebecca, so some are actually still coming to me, which is fine, but Rebecca is our counselor, and she's doing like the college applications, and we write the recommendation letters. We do all the things that any other counselor would do. So does Belmont take the CLT?
So there's a couple things there with CLT that I'll try and answer quickly. There are CLT partner colleges that are those that say you don't have to submit anything else. If you're submitting a CLT, it is on equivalent than, any of these other tests. So they're going to tie scholarships and admissions and everything to it. So we have over 200 partner colleges. Those are listed on our website. Those are ones that say, yeah, you don't need anything else. With the test optional movement for a lot of these schools, and it is a lot of the private schools that have remained test optional, that means that a lot of times they are test flexible as well, saying that anything that would validate your transcript, right? Like we mentioned, grade inflation, sometimes a little hard to tell with homeschoolers, what a 4.0 means exactly. So any test that goes back and validates that, that transcript is going to be useful for admissions. So Belmont is not, Belmont in Nashville is not one of our official partner colleges at this point. And one of the problems that we've had is with test optional, schools are reluctant to join and say, hey, we're a CLT partner college, because it somehow undermines their test optional message and their perception. So I would say reach out to them and ask if you can submit it. Even for schools that are not official CLT partners, we are hearing from them that they like to see those test scores, because it does help the students stand out, shows that maybe they read from a wider variety of time periods than they would on the ACT or SAT. So it never hurts to submit one of those scores, but Belmont may require something else in addition. I can't remember all of their admissions requirements right now.
Okay, these are pretty much CLT specific, so I'm just gonna let you answer all of these. Can my 11th grader, never done any testing, take the CLT 10 in September as a kind of starter?
Absolutely. Yeah, they can do that. They will not be eligible for any awards or recognition if they're taking it as an 11th grader, but the benefit of still getting that feedback and, being able to review those analytics, all of that stands. So it is not uncommon to have 11th graders, especially in the fall testing. Just know that they would not be eligible for awards or recognition because they are outside the bounds of 9th and 10th grade.
Okay, and this is another really good question that I think a lot of parents have when it comes to standardized testing. Did you say whether this testing will count against them in any way? I want my 9th grader to start practicing, but he will be intimidated the first time and may totally bomb it.
Yeah, that's one thing that I have to say. We've walked through this, like my kids started taking CLT long before I worked at CLT. One of the things that I've always appreciated about it is that you get to share your scores for free when you want to, and it's unlimited, but you don't even have the option to share your scores until after you've seen them. And so, I remember, back in the day with my older kids, as we were, doing all of these other tests, you had to opt whether or not you were going to share your scores. If you wanted to do it for free, you had to choose that before you took the test, and you didn't know how they were going to perform on it. So CLT really wants to embrace the autonomy of students and be family friendly with that. And so you never have to share your scores until you see them and you are happy with them. And then even like listening them to Home Life, you can easily send those scores to Home Life Academy. And that way they can see how you're doing. But I know with Home Life, we had the option because we had our kids test super early. Like I think we had the earliest someone tested with a college entrance exam was at the end of 9th grade. And so we could just send a note to the counselors at Home Life and say, hey, don't include these scores on the transcript. We're only going to include these scores. Or they were great to work with and making sure that my students were able to put their best foot forward on their transcript as well. So that I know Home Life works with you on that end. And then with CLT, you may be the only person who knows that they tested and what their score is, other than, some random CLT, it's all automated on our end. But no, that is not going to be sent. And then if you do want to send later scores, you're choosing which scores to send. It is not all scores that are sent. And so you always have the choice over which scores to send, when, and to whom.
Yeah, and when you're registering for any of these tests, always put Home Life Academy as the high school. Always put us, and we've got that information on our website, our school code. We're in Jackson, Tennessee. No matter where you are, put us, because that way you don't have to pay extra later to send us the test scores. And the thing is, if we had them all, we're going to send the highest, and we will send the highest in the sub-score category as well for those colleges that do super score, or even if they don't, they can look at those and say, oh, well, he scored a you know, whatever, you know, a composite score, but look at this little bit lower composite, he did a lot better in math, you know. So we always put the highest ones and the ones with the highest sub scores, you know, and if we don't have them, or we just have one of your lower, you know, we're not going to be able to send your highest test score. So don't be afraid to send your high school, and know that we do need those scores. And plus, we use these scores to rank your student too. So when we're filling out applications, it really helps me if I can look at the test scores, and then I can say, oh yes, they are in the top 5%. They're in the top 1% or whatever it is. And we can give them also a specific rank. So if you've sent them all to the colleges, but none to us, it limits us, and we really cannot give you your student quite as high a recommendation usually. So always put us on there. Another thing is, no, we do not have a list of all the scholarships available. Sometimes I get that, and we don't, but you know, but if you are in Tennessee, make sure you go to our website and search for Tennessee Scholars. Because most of the time, and especially if they do 80 hours of volunteer work in high school, which is really not that much, and it can cross over to other things, but if it's volunteer work, they can qualify as a Tennessee Scholar. They get the award, they get the medal, and there are colleges that give extra scholarships for Tennessee Scholars. So that's, you know, that's a pretty easy one that gets overlooked. Another one is check with your local community foundation. They give, usually $1,500 to $3,000 scholarships, but it really comes in handy when you're stacking those scholarships, you know. So let's see, I wanted to talk
Lonnie,
about
another place that I've seen for local, like outside scholarships, going to your local high school's webpage. A lot of times on the counselor's page of the local high schools, they will have a list of the different scholarships that are available in your area. So the credit unions and the dentist office and, you know, and the Rotary scholarship, all of those things that are available to your local area often appear on public high school pages for their counselor's office. And so I have combed through those to see what we might qualify for. And then we've done more national searches as well. But the majority of funding that you're going to get is going to come directly from the college most of the time.
absolutely.
And so focus your efforts there first, make sure that you meet those requirements. But when you're looking for those $500,000, $2,000 things, the local scholarships tend to be a better option.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great idea. I never thought about that. But also talking about going to visit the colleges, you get on their radar. Not only do you know if it's a good fit for you, but the college gets to see you. You're sitting in on classes, you're doing sports usually, your student is interviewing. They may do all kinds of things at the college while they're there in a program, and the college is going to see your student. That's what puts you on their radar. And then they are going to start reaching out to your student with the scholarships and all that. So it's very, very important to actually go and visit the colleges. It's really the only way you know if it's a fit, and it's the way that they know if it's a fit. So
yeah, and Lonnie, I will say, talking to a lot of colleges, they do gauge interest that students have expressed as one of the conditions of admission and scholarship considerations a lot of times. So it depends on the college and what their process is, but sometimes demonstrated interest is one of the things that they are weighing in admissions and scholarship decisions. So if your student is reaching out to them early, if they are submitting scores to them, if they are, calling the admissions counselor and asking questions, about, are there other scholarships that I should be looking at that are available that maybe I don't see on the website, or, going to a summer program that they offer. Those kinds of things can really set your student apart for admissions and scholarships as well.
Absolutely. It gets you on their radar. And then this, Carmita has also asked, My daughter is pretty smart, but she got rejected when she was applying for university, and I wasn't sure what to do. So Carmita, the bottom line is, because we get this every spring, that some students, and some of these are our top students who do get rejected by the top schools. But that's okay. It is, in the end, it is God that opens and closes doors when we are walking with him and we are depending on him and we are praying for him, because the bottom line is that none of us, not even our students, most of the time know where the best fit is going to be, know where they are going to excel, know where God wants them. So this past year, a lot of the Ivy League schools were only accepting like 2 to 3% instead of the regular maybe 7 to 8% or whatever. It made a huge difference. So some of our top students are valedictorian, for heaven's sakes, with a 36 ACT. He got rejected at some of his top schools. So you wonder, how can this happen? But there's so many applicants and there are so few. So I just say, don't get upset. Don't let your student get upset. Just say, you know what, God's got something better. Don't keep trying to push open doors that are closing. Let's go where you want your student, where they are going to excel, where they are going to make a difference on that campus. And, lots of times we do not know that. So don't lose sight. And that's why it really helps to apply to multiple colleges, and see what they offer and go, spend some time with those, the deans of the colleges. Makes a huge difference. And my kids, except for my son at the Air Force Academy, that was the only college he applied to. He did go to their summer seminar, and he said, this is where I'm going. This is it. And I do not recommend that. I recommend having a backup plan, but he was so sure, and he did get an early appointment there. So I was very thankful. But my younger two, they did not end up at the college they were pretty sure they were going to. They had this idea of where they were going, and yet it took those visitations to the campuses for them to go, wow, no, this is the college for me. So very, very important. And then let's see, what other?
Yeah, one other thing, I think it was Carmelita that had asked that question. You will often never know why your student was rejected. I wish that they sent you a note saying this is why, but that's just not the way admissions works. And so I would say, always talk to your home life counselor and see, if they can make sure that your application and your transcript and everything is solid. But then it really is an unknown sometimes why students are rejected. And sometimes great students are rejected because it doesn't fit exactly what they need as they're building, whether it's that they want people from different geographic regions, or there's all kinds of factors that go into that it's not necessarily a rejection of the academics of that student. It may be something that we don't ever have any insight into from the admissions side.
Well, I'll tell you, I deal with so many thousands of parents and students, that I have all these stories about God, and, we just cannot, we cannot discard that when we are thinking about admissions. The kids, you want them to be so prepared for anything. You want them to have the top test scores that they can achieve. You want to check out all the scholarship money, but in the end, and so a few years ago, we had a student who I got very close to because he called me all the time. And he was one of our students, top student, who wanted to go to the Naval Academy. And I really felt like he would get in. I wrote his recommendation letter. I did all of his, paperwork. He was, one of our very top testing students. The portfolio, everything, top notch. He did not get in. And I was surprised. And then when he did not get into Vanderbilt, his second choice, he called me up in tears. And he even called Vanderbilt to ask them why, and they did not tell him why. And so he wanted to know from me why. And I said, you know what? The bottom line is that you have done your very best. And so, but as a counselor, and I do feel like I get inspired when I'm talking to different families or different students, just because I've done this for 20 years. And so he said, Ms. Lonnie, my third choice is Georgia Tech. Now, when he said that, because my brother went there and he ended up, at Vanderbilt for years. He's still there as their, research director and everything. But, in my mind, I thought, you know what? My brother went to Georgia Tech and he was going to be a physics major. And all it took was their psychology class and philosophy classes. Lots of times in these schools, they hit you so hard with the there is no God. And he ended up changing his major to philosophy. Next thing we knew, he was an atheist, agnostic. But when he said that to me, I said, Chad, I don't believe that's where you need to be. And he's like, Miss Lonnie, where do you think I need to be? And I said, I think you need to be at University of Kentucky. Now, the reason I said that is because I knew we had one of our top students, our former valedictorian, was there in their honors college. And they do have more national merit finalists there than any other college. And I knew he was praying for another homeschooler to come into the honors class. And so they could, he would have that connection with another homeschooler. I knew he was praying for that. And he and his dad went there, and that's where he ended up going, because his dad said it wasn't even on our radar. And lots of times the colleges might not be on your radar. And so it's okay if they don't get into the top colleges. That may not be where they're supposed to be. But the dad it was so sweet. He said, I saw the dean of the college take my son and start walking ahead of me with his arm around him like a father. And I knew he was going to be okay. And then he's excelled, both of the kids. I mean, it could be any college, though. It just goes to show that don't get discouraged. Don't think you've done something wrong, or don't think that you haven't been good enough, because they all have their, their profiles and their checklists that they're going by. Like, okay, we want, this diverse population of students. And once they feel that, well, they might not accept your student. So it's okay. It's a process. It's exciting. You just keep on going, okay, God, okay, we're going with you on this. So it is exciting. Don't forget to have fun. Don't get stressed. And the main way that you are not going to be stressed is going back over this webinar and doing all those things. The parents and the students that get super stressed are the ones that miss the deadlines. They wait too long. They don't realize that everything happens before or during the fall of the senior year, not during the spring. It's too late if you start doing all the things in the spring. So, just stay on target, and it is going to be fun. It's not going to be stressful.
Yeah. And, Lonnie, we really enjoyed the process with all of our kids. I think that was it. Everyone kind of had different interests and they explored different colleges. Yes. And, we made it fun as we visited colleges. We tried to really explore maybe the area around it a little bit, or see what was there. And we had so many moments of walking on a campus and going, wow, this seems great. And, and kind of knowing that it was definitely one where they needed to apply. And then other places that was like, okay, sitting through one class, my daughter said, absolutely not. I couldn't attend here. And, another one, we dealt with a lot of food allergies. We went to one school, they couldn't feed my student. We got sick while there and eating in the cafeteria. And we knew that even though it was a great fit academically, they couldn't meet her physical needs. And so, that was a real, sometimes you have to get on campus to get that kind of feel for it. But the moments that they were able to do like a week at the camp or whatever really solidified for them whether that was a good fit for them or not. And so I would encourage you as much as possible, use those opportunities if you can make that happen at all.
Okay, so this webinar is recorded. You will be sent the link in a day or two so that you can certainly go back over it because you will want to. It's got so much great information. Let's see, and we will help you. One of the things that I do is help tweak the transcripts and portfolio. So there's definitely things that you will want on the transcript. More is not necessarily better, but we want it to be strong. So for your college-bound student, you are not going to have life skills. You probably won't have test prep. You won't have all these if you've got so many core courses and really quality electives. But, we can help you decide, do I put this on the transcript or in the portfolio or both? Some things, both, because that's a part of them and that's a big part of their life. And it might not have anything to do with their major. Like my boys were so into classical piano. Bible, I wanted that there. I wanted their Bible classes, the specific classes, because I felt like this is important and I wanted them to know it was important, and so it was on there as well. So that's up to you. And then you can certainly reach out to me. I've looked at so many, like I say, thousands of these. And my students early on did not have strong transcripts. I go back and go, oh my gosh, I can't even believe they got scholarships on these transcripts, but we've learned how to tweak them, how to help the parents tag courses as honors, your dual enrollment, your AP that give the weighted GPAs, those do come into play sometimes with scholarships. And so we will help you do all that and just fine tune, because the bottom line is we want your student to be where they're supposed to be, get in the top college if that's what they've got their heart set on, or the Air Force Academy or whatever, the top engineering school. And we want them to stand out. And that's something that Kimberly touched on that I want to just follow up with. Don't think that just padding your transcript or your portfolio is going to help, because college admissions, they see thousands of these as well. And they can tell when this student is doing all this stuff just to check off the check mark. You don't want that. You want them to be involved in the things that they have a passion for, that is their strength, that's going to help them. And it might mean giving up some things when they're in high school and fine tuning toward that goal. So they start out with all kinds of things and then maybe have to give up some along the way because they want to focus on those things that are going to help them achieve their goals. And that's fine. The colleges want to see this kind of thing. They want to see things that the student has been with since they were 5 years old, and they've continued, and now they're officers in the clubs, and they're getting books published, and they excelled in this now. Not, oh, we're starting a million different clubs as a senior, so I can check that off. That's not what it's all about. So we can kind of help you with those kinds of questions as well.
Yeah, Lonnie, I think it brings up something interesting too that I sometimes address, is even talking about extracurriculars and how to address those as you go into interviews, because it's not simply about what you've done, but how you relate that information to people. So I think it's that's really, really valuable. And you have to look at like what the underlying message is a lot of times before, it's not just they did a club, but it's what they learned, or, how they use that, how they contributed to the community, and how that will translate to what they're going to do once they're on campus. So.
Yeah. And, one more thing that the top colleges look for, I know, like Harvard, for example, they have really been into project centered learning for years. And that's why Eagle Scouts and the Boy Scouts, it's always looked upon so favorably, because they do those projects. It's project based. And so we did that with our kids. We did, I mean, almost everything that we did basically was this project-based learning, whether it was a health class, and they had to pick a body system or organ or something and do a whole science project on it, and share that. But projects, are so favorably looked upon. So don't forget that what your child is doing in their area of interest, and then put things like that in the portfolio, because that's learning, that's problem solving, that includes all the skills that they are going to need to be successful in college and career. It's not just passing a test or using a textbook. It's totally different thing when they are actually doing things. So don't forget, that's very important in the portfolio particularly. And if you request the portfolio to be sent with the transcript, which is what I did. When we started sending out transcripts, we had the portfolio sent. We didn't send it again at the end for the final. They already had it, but that's when they're making their decisions. When you first apply, we send the transcript, we send the portfolio, we send the recommendation letter that is coming from you, the parent. You are going to write it. We're going to tweak it. We're going to rewrite it as much or as little as we need to. And then that college is not just going to have a generic academic, letter. They get a million of these, they don't mean anything, and they can weaken, the way that your student looks actually, if you just send an academic letter. But we send it, and it's the heart of the parents. So it's, what would you say about your student? What is not going to be on paper? It's not going to be in the portfolio. It's not going to be on the transcript, but this about your student, their strengths, and you can give examples, and then that's the letter. So I really believe that that's why a lot of our students are getting into the top colleges, because they do stand out. And they stand out to me. I can see the effect of the letters when I'm doing, the common application, and I've got the grades. Sometimes I even have things in the portfolio. I've got the test scores, but when I get that letter from the parent, it's like, oh my goodness, I can enthusiastically recommend this student now to the colleges. Anything else, Kimberly?
Not that I can think of right off. I would just say, I think I started by saying, don't discount schools based on their price that you see. If you do this work during high school, if you plan and prepare, your student can have access to a lot of scholarships at private schools. I see a lot of people who say, well, we're just going to do 2 years of community college because it's cheaper. We actually are sending all 3 of ours to private liberal arts schools quite affordably, very low cost in some instances because of scholarships earned. And that, for us, that fit what we wanted for them, it fit what they wanted. And it just made all the difference. Now, it's not without some work and effort going into it, but they got this beautiful, rigorous, holistic education that really helped them grow and thrive in seeking truth and seeking beauty and goodness. And it really just continued what we had started in homeschooling. And, instead of kind of culture shock going from our environment into a different one. And so there are tons of opportunities out there. And a lot of times people just say, well, there's no way to afford private college. And that is not the case. I can tell you from our own experience, it is not the case. We have our children at beautiful private liberal arts schools, and, where they have been able to thrive and have really a very rigorous, intense academic process that I would put up against most any of those elite schools. But the beauty of it was they were able to incorporate their faith throughout. And so they came out of it stronger in their faith. So I would just encourage you, like, if that's at all in your heart, if that's at all something that you would want to pursue it, leave it as an option. Don't dismiss it out of the box.
For our Tennessee families, We've got so many private Christian schools, and they do make it affordable. Lots of them, like Bryan and Union, they are seeking homeschool students. They reach out to us all the time, reaching out to our students, and they make it so affordable. So affordable. There's no reason really not to pick one of these, private Christian colleges. However, if you do have a student that, maybe is strong in engineering or even the liberal arts, I actually met with the president and his wife and the dean of one of the colleges at Tennessee Tech. That was not on my radar. And I was so impressed. If your student is interested, even in like a state college, talk to the people at the college, because I'll tell you what, the president and his wife, they are very strong Christians, as well as most of the deans of the colleges within that system. And it's very much, because I ask about that, is this the atmosphere on campus, like primarily Christian? It totally is. So they're very strong engineering, but they've got all the liberal arts and the theater and the music and everything. So, that was something that actually was not on my radar, but they have reached out to us and said, we want more of your students. And they knew exactly how many they had of our students. They said, we want more, and we will offer scholarships. We will make this totally affordable where, they don't have to pay anything. They will have full tuition. So it's really awesome that a lot of the colleges go talk to them if this is where your student wants to go. And lots of times they can come up with scholarship money.
Absolutely. And the nice thing in Tennessee is that I know, and I believe the same is true of Bright Futures in Florida, you can use the scholarship money from the state, like Hope and GAMS in Tennessee, Bright Futures in Florida. Those funds can be applied to a list of private universities within the state as well. So my daughter is actually at Union University, and she gets Hope and GAMS funds to go to Union. And so, and the state of Tennessee actually raised those Hope Scholarship funds just this past year. So they're actually giving more to students to be able to go. And those are not just for the state schools, they are for a lot of the private Christian schools as well. Just have conversations. Just don't be afraid to reach out to admissions counselors. They really do want to hear from you. And more importantly, they want to hear from your students directly.
Yep, absolutely. So again, this is going to be recorded. I don't believe in the recordings that they include the chat and the Q&As, however, so look over those real quick before we end. If we do not get to your questions, I see some at the end, just go ahead and email me, Lani, Lani at homelifeacademy.com. And I believe for questions about the CLT or things of that nature, Kimberly, they can go to the website. What is that email?
Yes, cltexam.com is our website. There's a lot of information on there. I have put in the chat a potential, like a suggested testing timeline if you want to see a way to use the CLT suite of assessments from 7th through 12th grade. That is on there, as well as links to some of those pages. And then if you have questions about things like registration or how do I use this, then info@cltexam.com is an email that will get you right to all of our customer service folks. If you have a direct question for me, they can also direct it to me once you email info@cltexam.com. But don't forget that HLA 2022 is the discount code that you can use when registering for any CLT, and that'll give you 25% off. And we would love to serve you there. Happy to answer questions as they come up.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. I know you are a valued homeschool mom of Home Life Academy, but the fact that you can bring this kind of specialized knowledge to us and our parents, is just invaluable. You have been so helpful, and we appreciate you so much because I would never be able to share from my perspective what you can from your perspective. So this partnership is really wonderful, and we do thank you and appreciate your time.
Thank you, Lonnie. We love homeschoolers at CLT and we really want to see them thrive. And so that's why, we want to do this. We know from partners, the partner colleges that we have, they desperately want homeschooled students on their campuses. They know what they bring. And so we want to help our families put the best foot forward for that. So I encourage you all, just keep doing what you're doing. It is valued, it is recognized by the world.
It is. And don't think that they don't want homeschoolers. And that does not mean that you have to put homeschool on all the college applications. In fact, we suggest that you select Home Life Academy. Now you can select the homeschool option, but list Home Life Academy as your school, because we are going to be the one then sending your official transcripts and the recommendation letters, and we are your counselors. So if you just put homeschool, sometimes that kind of throws you into a different category. And so they think that the mom is going to be, having to do everything, make up the transcript and diploma and everything. And that's not the case. But when you list Home Life Academy and one of us, Rebecca or myself, as the counselor, then they're going to know to reach out to us and we can submit this stuff online a lot of times. Okay, so everything's going to be shared. Okay, I think we've got everything. So we are ready to end this very long, almost 2-hour presentation, but I do believe that Jay is going to be able to break it up. And don't forget about our YouTube channel, y'all. That's where he posts all these on the Home Life Academy. He posted the link there. But go ahead and join our YouTube channel. And he's really good about breaking it up into smaller sections for you as well. So, all right, Kimberly, thank you so much. Until next time, y'all.